Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of GnWC Weekly. I'm the Duke, and I'm joined by my good buddy.
Now, let's get something straight. You're Mr. Duke. I'm the dude. So that's what you call me. You know that, or is Dudeness, or Duder, or El Duderino if you're not into the whole brevity thing. I am the walrus.
I am the table.
It's
Anyway.
one of my favorite things of all time. Veronica Mars.
Yeah,
Yeah, such a good show.
it was pretty good. The movie was weird.
I didn't watch the movie actually.
Yeah,
I kickstarted. I chipped in.
Oh yeah, I'd watch it if I were you. It was sort of
I hate
strange.
I hate finales, like knowing something's like the last of something, and I'm sure we've talked about this before. Like series finales.
Yeah,
and that's why I hate
that
movies
before.
in general. But yeah, I'm kind of staying away from it.
I mean, it's not bad. It's just some things. I'll be as vague as possible. Some things, the resolution to them was curious.
It's kind of like Prison Break in a way to me. It's you get like a flash forward or like something spanning a couple years, and then like they not foreshadow but pre-shadow, I guess, events that happened during that time they flashed forward past.
Right.
And it's just like, oh, why did they do that? That's not cool. They didn't need to do that.
Yeah, I thought it was strange to do that. I didn't understand why they couldn't just end it on a happy note, and I don't know. I don't know what the purpose of the last break was.
Yeah.
In the grand scheme
I didn't
of
even
things.
watch that.
Yeah, it took me forever to find it online to watch it because I couldn't track it down any other way.
And then they're rebooting it.
Are they really?
Yeah, and Lincoln Burrows, I forget his real name,
Dominic
got injured
Purcell.
on the set. What's that?
Dominic Purcell.
Yes, he got injured on the set.
Really?
And I'm like, what the hell? You know, I loved him as Captain Cold and what his brother,
Heatwave,
the other guy, Heatwave. Yeah, and when they came out, and then like Heatwave, it was him. It was Dominic as Heatwave. I'm like, oh, this is great. It's Prison Break all over again.
Oh,
Where's
and
T-Bag?
he's good.
T-Bag needs to be Shocker, even though that's Marvel.
No, T-Bag is actually he's actually Clock King.
He's
in
in
universe.
It?
Oh yeah.
Oh, what is he in the villain one they're doing? They did in the.
No, he was on Flash.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he was on.
I
feel like he made an appearance on Arrow. Yeah, he was in prison on Arrow at some point. But
I got to get out of 2014.
Yeah, but he's made. Man, his name's not coming to me right now. I followed
T-Bag.
him on Twitter for a while. Yeah, I'm trying to remember his real name, but
he was in Breakout Kings too for a while, and I think he was in Breakout Kings as T-Bag. Breakout Kings was some A&E show that lasted 2 seasons.
Right.
It was really. I liked it. It was really good. But
I think a lot of people liked it, but A&E likes acting shows early.
Yeah. But hey, for more TV talk, check us out on Twitter.
Let's start a new podcast.
Let's just do everything. Let's do everything.
Let's start a new podcast.
We can do a podcast on who has the best peanuts, Mr. Peanut.
We should not
or
do
Five
that.
Guys Burgers.
Ooh,
you can't go wrong with Five Guys Burgers peanuts.
They are pretty good.
I can do
kind of
like 50
dusty,
minutes.
but they're pretty good.
I can do 50 minutes stand up on peanuts alone.
That's like instant anaphylactic shock for anyone who's allergic to peanuts, though. You can't even walk within a mile of that building.
They won't let you take the peanuts out of the store.
Which makes sense.
Right, but I shoveled a bunch in my bag anyway.
Of course you did, because you're a terrorist.
It's the friggin' experience, man. You can't go to Five Guys and not have burger. You know, peanuts. It's unconstitutional.
So, wrestling.
Yes.
Let's get on that.
No.
Let's talk about wrestling. Yep. I wish we had a sponsor. This would be a great time to talk about a sponsor.
Oh, yeah. We can do what your brother used to do and be not sponsored by.
Not sponsored by Mattel.
But, yeah, Mattel.
But I'm the Duke, and he's Angry Larry.
Yes.
And it is Friday, June 10th.
You might have said that already.
No, I never said that.
Okay, but let's flash back to Wednesday.
Yes.
NXT TakeOver, the end, the beginning of all things, Alpha.
The end of the beginning.
Hyper, Championship Edition 2 plus EX. I
That
think
was
that's what it was
not
called.
the title.
That was the title. They kept adding every single time they mentioned it. They kept adding a word on. It
I
was like
don't.
Street Fighter 2 all over again.
I don't feel like that actually happened.
It happened twice
Hmm.
in like a 3-week span. But so because it started as NXT Takeover, then it was NXT Takeover the end, and
No,
then it was
it
NXT
was
Takeover the
Revenge
beginning of
first.
the end.
It was
What's that?
Revenge first, and then
It was Revenge
and then
first,
it
and
was
then
called the end.
yeah. So, but that's my opinion on the show. What about yours?
Wow, really?
No, I loved it
Yeah,
actually.
I really enjoyed it too. I thought the order was a little like that was not what we expected the order of the show to be.
No,
For
but if
the
they're doing the tag team title change and you do it first before tie in the debut, I don't know if you're really upstaging it. You know what I mean?
yeah, that kind of throws
So
it
I
off.
think it was like perfectly done.
No, it was smart
Yeah,
booking. It made
yeah,
sense. It just
yeah.
isn't what we're used to seeing. Typically, you see the tag titles up front, but yeah, having the debut right up front
Well, we say
was
typically,
pretty good.
but like that's like the last 2 or 3. I believe Brooklyn, the tag titles are somewhere in the middle.
Well, there's been like 11,
Yeah,
so I
I
mean
know.
that's a pretty
But
good.
I wonder if we go back, it's like 9 times they didn't do the tag titles first, and like you know what I mean? It's like, but typically they did it. And we're both in agreement that
Yeah,
it's
we're like
typical for it. But yeah, yeah.
yeah. It was only
John
like
Cena buries people. Yeah, we agree.
a quarter of the time.
Yeah,
Um,
it's like a Yogi Berraism. They do it all the time, 25% of the time.
60%
But
of the time, all the time.
so it was a great show. I liked the opening. Where's Ty Dillinger been for the last 15 years?
My
Or
gosh,
or,
I know.
or this Ty Dillinger?
God, he's so good.
You want
He's
to talk about a guy
so
who's just
good.
like in the corner and existed in a tag team, and then like they throw him out there when they need filler, and then all of a sudden he's got all this charisma that he probably had all the time. But my God, this guy was around 2 years ago. You know, he might be in the main roster instead of Tyler Breeze.
I agree.
Tyler Breeze might be the guy that's working with new people and doing all the things that Dillinger's doing right now, or we think that he's doing.
But I gotta
But
be honest, as good as Breeze is, I don't know that he can facilitate it as well as Dillinger does. Because
I,
Dillinger gets over, and in the process of getting over, gets the other guy over. You know what I'm saying? It's
Dillinger
just
loses all the time, but
yeah.
regains and gains fan support every time he's out there.
Yeah, you know what he is? He's the singles version of American Alpha. Because they weren't really winning right off the bat. Or they would
I think they
win.
were, because I think that's why Jason Jordan was okay
Well,
with the tag.
they won some and then they lost the big one. They lost the tournament match, and that was their. I mean, that was kind of like their coming out party. That was where they blew up, and it was off a loss.
They blew up
You know?
in Europe, in England, before NXT Takeover London. The crowd support that they got blew them up through the roof, because then the American fans copycatted that once they saw it on NXT Takeover. Because all NXT did was tweet video of Gable and Jordan at every house show before NXT Takeover London, because the crowd was just insane night after night after night for them. And
Well,
then they would,
yeah,
when they come
yeah.
back United States, you know, copycat fans and all that, but not saying that they were only big in Europe. They came here, we reciprocated the same love for them, and like everything was just like pushed sky high at that point, and that was their big huge push at that time.
And we'll roll into them in just a second. But yeah, Ty Dillinger, just holy crap! Back on that, that was where we came from. Was that
Yes.
I feel like he is the singles version of American Alpha. He's this guy that has been sort of in the background for and it's more the Jason Jordan side of American Alpha, but he's this guy that's just sort of sat in the background. He's been there. He's been a good hand in the ring and stuff
It was
like
Jason
that.
Jordan's tag team partner for a couple of years.
Yeah, there you go. And just somehow he's not. I mean, he is just unbelievable. That's why. That's like I was starting to. Like I was really enjoying him as a legit act, even though the 10 thing is sort of comedy, but it's the right kind of comedy. It's something that you can build to you can build into his character as that's his intensity.
You want a good comparison?
Sure, go ahead.
The Yes Chant was comedy.
Yeah, it really was.
That blew up. I mean, not to say that everyone's going to be chanting 10 everywhere at ball games and social media and, pop culture and stuff. But my God, you only have to have, 1,000 plus in the building doing it, and it's electric.
Yeah. And just imagine, here's what I see for Ty Dillinger. If he really gets pushed to the moon, as I feel he could be, and he could do it well, especially with as many years as he has under his belt. He's got the experience to know you're not always at the top of the card, so make the best of it. So I would think. So what I could see is he gets into a big angle, a big storyline, and his big catch line at some point is, the perfect music reference. You know what? They call me the perfect 10, but this one goes to 11. And he goes out and wins a title. I mean, come on. It's so good.
It's pretty good. I mean, if 3-Man Bam was around, he'd be perfect for that then.
No, that's not even what I was saying.
Oh, that's kind of what I pictured. Hey, by the way, Takenta, isn't that the greatest thing in the world?
Takenta?
That picture?
Yeah. It's pretty great.
That's pretty good. It took me like 2 hours to finish the shading on his upper lip.
I don't feel like you really did that.
What? That I didn't do that?
You legit did that?
Who are you to doubt El Dandy?
We'll talk about it later. But next match, I know we're not going to recap everything, but the tag match was fantastic as always.
Oh yeah,
their chemistry is off the charts, insane, and it was, it wasn't the same match as before, but it had the same feel of just utter frantic. Something. Who's going to make the last mistake? And it ended up being American Alpha making the last mistake. And
he was it Scott Dawson that did the pounce on Chad Gable, knocking him out of the ring, and then he saved Dash from getting suplexed from. They were setting up. American Alpha was setting up for their whatever they call
for their finish,
for the alley-oop
grand amplitude.
Grand amplitude.
Omegaplex would have been much better. They should have gone with that. Their second choice.
I think it was Scott Dawson, that did the pounce on Chad Gable, knocking him out of the ring, and then caught Dash, and then that's when they did their finisher on Jason Jordan, and that's how the match ended.
I mean, it was pretty much the exact opposite finish of what they did before.
Oh yeah, they swapped finishers,
which was
and
really
second
cool.
Saves, and
yeah. It was a cool way to do it, and I don't know. I love how their matches start off kind of slow and not necessarily methodical, because they ramp up really fast, but then they just get insane, just utterly insane. And to have guys that are sort of Arn and Tully on one side in a match like that, it's really compelling.
Here's their formula.
Interesting.
Their formula is go in hot, get all the crowd support and the chants done right away, then take the beating while the crowd's hot. So now the crowd's pissed off. Now they're booing. Now they're ramping up Gable, who normally takes the beating, to make the hot tag to Jordan. The crowd explodes again. Everything they do, the crowd is along for the ride. And it's like, that's why it's so good as a tag team, or NXT is really so good in general, because every match and feud kind of has this template, but it's not the same template, but like the beginning, the middle, and the end is all the same, and the crowd's into it the whole time.
Right.
It's just weird. I haven't seen it since, like, even in ECW days, when ECW was hot, there were stinkers. There were boring parts. There were bad matches. Everything NXT's done, man, has been so good. So good.
And it's funny because you go into, like, I went into the end thinking, okay, this is a pretty good card. This is pretty outstanding. But
predictable.
But predictable.
Right.
But I also saw a lot of people who were just like, I don't know, I'm just not really feeling it. And then I would see their comments afterward, and they're like, "Yeah, I wasn't really feeling it. Holy crap, did they deliver again and just completely surprise me?"
I
And
forget what it was. I think it was Dallas. Maybe it was Dallas, or maybe it was. It was. I think it was Dallas because it was London, Dallas, and then this one, right? Or was there one in between?
no, you're right.
Okay, I think it was Dallas when I'm like, listen, I'm not impressed. I
Yeah, I
don't think
remember
this.
that.
I think this is gonna be their worst one ever.
Yeah, you did say
But
that. You said it on the
but then it was
podcast.
like, yeah. But then it was like, wow.
Yeah, it was crazy, and there were interesting, surprise things like Bailey losing and stuff like it's funny how they can take similar elements, tell the story differently, and it's just they just know how to do it. They know how to do it. So
What did you think of Nakamura Aries?
I thought it was great.
Yeah.
I thought it was way more um, brutal than I expected.
Okay. Yeah. All right.
Especially and Aries taking that bump to the outside, just basically jumping into the guardrail. That was pretty insane. Like,
The Nakamura suplex onto the bridge of the edge
oh,
of the apron
that
too.
was
That was
stupid. Yeah, stupid
and
good,
then
but
and then
just like wow.
the tope that Aries hit on Nakamura that just launched the guardrail.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
just crazy, man.
it was
He's good. He's
brutal.
so good.
Yeah, it was really it was pretty insane. So it was just every match had something that was every match had, and I don't mean this as a negative, it had a shock value to it in that you saw something you really didn't expect to see, and it was extremely pleasing. And we might as well get all the matches out. We're
Yeah,
three
the
out of
women's
five
match would
now.
probably
The
be
women's
yeah.
match also delivered in the same way. You saw you saw Nia Jax really hold her own in that match. And yes, it was the shortest women's title match there's been in NXT yet. But it didn't really need to be long to tell the right story. And it felt longer than it actually was. But
I didn't even like at the end of the match. I never even thought, wow, that was quick. It's like
right.
so.
Yeah, and that was the same way. I just saw somebody break it down, and they had all the matches listed and everything like that, and obviously Bailey Sasha at Takeover Respect is the longest because it was an Iron Man match. But anyway, it was really really good, and she held her own, and just the whole sort of Godzilla-esque moment at the end with her just wailing unexpectedly like that, like, I'm not going to go down, I'm a monster. And essentially the idea was, well, if you're a monster, I'm going to hit you in the mouth a lot. And it worked.
I feel like I've
very
seen.
interesting.
I know this is wrestling and everything's pretty much recycled all the time. I feel like I've seen that before, but I'm not saying that as a negative. I'm saying it is. I just can't recall where like the losing wrestlers like on their last dying breath, and they're just giving the "I'm not giving up, you won't beat me" kind of scream, and then they lose. I don't know if it was I'm thinking of Brock Lesnar versus Undertaker, or if there was another instance of it where somebody just like was fighting to their last breath and then took it and then ended the match.
I
Kind of in the
know I
same
know
way,
Nia
but
Jax impressed a lot of people with her level of improvement and just the emotion she put into the match.
yeah.
But to me, I felt like it was more than just impressed. I feel like she almost turned in that match, especially with that scream at the end. I mean, it was so weird and blood curdling and everything. Like it was like primal. And I think
Well,
that's something you don't see in wrestling a lot, especially out of ladies. And it was so, I mean, it was guttural and just one complaint I've never really voiced on the show, but one thing that I don't like to hear in women's matches is high pitched squealing all the time. And some of the ladies don't get that. And I think I even saw on Breaking Ground where Sarah Del Rey, Sarah Amato, whatever her name is this week, said, you need to, if you're going to grunt or you're going to scream, you need to go deeper with it. It needs to sound athletic, not I'm paraphrasing, but she said go deeper with it, and her point was it needs to sound more athletic and less screechy. And to me, that was like just from the depths of hell a scream, and I don't know, just that scream I feel like probably just messed with people a lot in a good way. So it did for
My
me.
problem with the match was that it was treated as the transition match it is. That's probably leading to Asuka versus Bailey in Brooklyn.
Yeah.
And the way they set it up with Bailey shaking Asuka's hand before the match and then showing her tweet before the match, kind of to me, NXT hasn't done this before, but it kind of like upstaged the match a little bit in the fact that, a smart fan can read into every little thing they do, right or wrong, but get a feeling. And the feeling was that, okay, it's obvious Asuka's going to win unless NXT is going to throw us a curveball, and they've done that before. So that's on the back of your mind. But Asuka's going to win, and then you're watching it with that mentality, and it's just like, well, everything they're doing and letting Nia Jax do to Asuka and letting Asuka overcome is all prelude to, well, if Nia Jax can beat Bailey and Asuka can beat Nia Jax, then how could Bailey stop Asuka? So now we're going to Asuka already beat Bailey. Asuka beat the person who beat Bailey, and now Bailey's going to be the underdog going into Brooklyn. And that was the only thing that was on my mind the whole match, and the whole scream at the end. To me, just summarized the whole Asuka slayed the giant,
Yeah.
and who can stop Asuka kind of moment.
Right.
And
And you're not wrong that it did feel transitional within the show and transitional within the title picture, but I don't know, maybe we'll see more.
it was still good. Listen, it was still a good match. I just, how jaded you can be sometimes as a wrestling fan,
Sure.
and if everything's so good, then something has to be like your lead. Like in any list of anything, there's your top and there's your bottom. Your bottom doesn't always have to be in the basement. It could be somewhere like in the B minus range on a
Sure.
scale, but it is still the bottom. And when you have a show like this, you do have to critique things every once in a while.
Oh
And
yeah. No.
yeah,
I'm
as the
with you.
broadcast journalist I am, that was actually one of my 3 downsides to the event, and the only one to do with an actual match. So I'll touch on the other 2 after we're done with the whole thing. But if you want to move on to the cage match,
It was good. I
yeah, I
it was
listen.
one of the better cage matches I've seen personally. So
I have trouble with cage matches because I just I like realism sometimes. Like I like realism as unbelievable as that is watching wrestling. I like realism. And there's a lot of spots where like the dude can just walk to the door and just open it and walk out. Like that's like the reality of it, but they can't obviously do that because they got the show to and fans to entertain, and they're not going to shoot on somebody like that. But the whole climbing the cage slowly and stuff like that, I felt like they didn't do a lot of that, which was good, but they didn't do a lot of cage stuff either. A couple times they threw him into the cage, and unless I'm forgetting something, it's like the cage almost didn't even matter.
I disagree. There was a lot of it wasn't that creative necessarily, but there was a lot like Finn got thrown over the ropes between the ropes in the cage probably about 4 times, and then eventually the big kicker was when he finally was able to do that to Joe and get his comeback after he crotched himself in the process, which that was kind of creative. It's not
Oh yeah,
something you
but I'm
see
not
every day.
saying it's not creative and they didn't use the cage. I just felt like the cage wasn't used special. Any of those spots could have been guardrail spots. Not that we could have had a
Okay.
coup de grace off the top of the cage because that would have probably broke a lung, collapsed a lung or something. But we didn't have a lot of teasing over the top. We had like twice, I think, Finn was caught going over the top. And we didn't have a lot of like, push the guy's face into the cage and rub it. And, you know, Joe's got handcuffs in his pocket and he handcuffs the guy to the cage,
Yeah.
just some
Yeah.
stupid things like that. But I don't know. I just, that it's my
I got you.
pessimism towards cage matches, especially in the blade free era
Right.
is that they really don't serve a point except for to keep the guys in the ring.
Yeah,
And
I'm with you on that, and I will never to this day understand why the door still exists on the cage, um, because ultimately, if there's an actual emergency, they can pull the thing off. They can pull the thing up, right? If there's an actual
or they can have a
emergency.
door and just have it not included in the match. It has to be won by climbing over a pinfall or submission.
Yeah,
And the other part
exactly.
is that Finn Balor is happy the match is in a cage because he wants revenge on Joe. Yet he tried to win by escaping the cage a few times, and that's not revengey. That's not like
Sure, didn't
getting
fit
one
the
over on the
story.
guy.
Didn't fit the story. But
Yeah.
all that being said, the finish of the match was pretty great.
Muscle Buster from the second rope, and it's a marked move. It's a flagged move because of what happened to Tyson Kidd.
Right.
So I am kind of shocked they let it happen off of the. Was he even on second rope, or was he just on the first rope? And it just
He was on second.
second rope.
Yeah,
Okay,
he was second rope because he had to get up pretty high to get Finn off the top. So
it was a good ending. It was a
yeah,
good ending, and I'm glad he didn't kick out from that
yeah,
because
yeah,
I like when finishes are protected. Sometimes I think did he hit the Muscle Buster first,
yeah.
a
That was
regular
and,
one. He
and it
got
was
kicked
the big
out, and then
shock because it was the first time Finn had ever kicked out of the Muscle
yeah,
Buster. So
and then
um,
Finn hit the
yeah,
coup de grace, and
yeah.
then he kicked out of that. So they traded finishers, and then it's expectation now that finishers are going to get kicked out of in marquee matches, and like it's
But at
only a
least it
matter of
wasn't.
is it.
At least it wasn't three or four of them though.
No. I'm not saying it. I'm not saying it is a bad thing. I'm just saying it is. And then you have to do the finisher off the second rope, and then that finally puts him away. So it's kind of like escalating. Like a regular muscle buster won't do it. So I'm going to do a muscle buster off the second rope, and it's a legit finish, and it's a good ending to it. Is this the end of Finn Balor?
I don't know.
I don't think it is.
The social media buzz is saying Finn versus
Nakamura.
Shin. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's interesting.
It could be a
One more.
situation though where
Hang
he
on.
goes to the main roster like
Yeah.
Sasha Banks, and then just comes back for that one-off last hurrah match
Or
against
yeah,
Nakamura
or
in
even Sami
Brooklyn.
Zayn. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh,
And I one more compliment about the cage itself. I like the look of this cage.
I do too.
I'd rather they go with just black cages from now on, but it wasn't the shiny metal, and they had square posts instead of round. I really like that.
A lot of the
it looked more industrial.
Yeah, a lot of the reasons they had to do that though was the limited ceiling space. So if you notice, the cage was flat; all corners were flat, like
Right.
a opened up die, I guess. And then they would they would come down to kind of swing down to form the cage itself. But that was because of the limited ceiling. So I wonder how much of the construction of the cage was logistic because they had to do it that way.
But I
But
liked it.
it was
Yeah,
great.
it was cool.
It
So,
was cool. Definitely
definitely.
cool. Overall, I probably gave it a B plus. I mean, we didn't mention the one thing that we talked about on the taping of the speculation prediction show was that they really don't do run-ins. They don't do post-match run-ins to lead to feuds and stuff, but
They did this time.
they did this time, and
And
they
it was
called the
right after
authors.
the big shocker of the title
Yeah.
change too. Yeah.
Hey, you unhappy that American Alpha got beat? Hey, how about if we
Uh,
send two new guys in to beat him up afterwards?
yeah. And we bring
Screw
back
you, internet.
we bring back a Hall of Famer
Does
who's
this guy age?
that was my same exact thought. I'm like, Ellering looks like he did when he was with LOD. What is going on?
If you told me Paul Ellering like was still in the business, I'm thinking he's got like some sort of classic Freddie Blassie wheelchair kind of thing rolling around backstage, a Jeb Coulter scooter. Like this guy can't walk, and this guy's probably not like coherent. And then he walks out there looking like he did in the '80s. Like what the hell?
Yeah. It was I was thoroughly impressed, and I loved. I mean, we who doesn't love Graves and Tom? I mean, if you don't, just stop watching wrestling. But no offense, you should just stop. But
They're good.
but
They're
but
good together, man.
Graves reaction to Ellering, um, was great. And let's call back since I'm going to hop on the love train. Let's hop back to the Bobby Roode moment where the camera cuts back to
He's
them
just there.
and they're just sitting there kind of staring at each other, and Graves is like, I don't know what life is anymore. I mean, he just has this look like Bobby Roode. And I mean,
Bobby Roode showed up and he brought
great.
Tim Hortons from Canada, and
Yeah,
everything's right in the world.
yeah.
But now it's interesting because you mentioned Bobby Roode. I looked it up because I need to know. Eric Young does not have an NXT contract as far as I can tell. He was brought in for the TV tapings probably because NXT is doing a little bit of a anybody can show up buzz thing. And Eric Young had an available booking and it worked, and so to speak. You have to think that Bobby Roode is contracted if that moment was going to take place.
You think,
and I can't find anything about it.
Yeah.
So it's just weird.
Seems well protected at this point.
Yeah.
What was I gonna say? That so we
Tim
like
Hortons?
the show. I'm pretty. I'm on board. B+, A-, something like that.
Yeah, B+. It had the run in and it had good solid matches, all to a decisive non interference finish.
Right.
Which I love in wrestling.
Yeah.
We don't get that at all on a day-to-day basis on the main roster.
Exactly.
Everything's marred.
And speaking of people could show up at any time, we haven't talked about this yet.
Okay.
I don't think we've talked about, not on a show or anything.
And you kind of stumped me.
I stunned you?
Stumped me as to what you mean right now.
Yeah, I'm really playing this out. But we haven't talked about this yet with anybody showing up at any time. So Drew Galloway.
Yes.
And EC3.
Yes.
And Evolve a few weeks back.
Yes.
Running down NXT or running down WWE, and
generically, not by name.
Yeah, not necessarily by name.
Actually,
they did say King of Kings. They did say
running down Hugh Morris.
Yeah, Bill DeMott. Yeah, they did run down Bill DeMott, which I understand all the the bad will that's there. But let's keep in mind Bill DeMott just lost his daughter. I don't know that, but whatever. It's that's I don't know what to think of that. Because if it's happening in Evolve, Hunter is involved, not necessarily involved in the booking, but he's at least put his stamp of approval on things. And that's just, it's still tearing the shreds of wrestling reality for me.
Space-time
that happened. That happened, and
it's happened in the past before. When you're dealing with indie feds, they can pretty much do whatever they want. They don't evolve with the working relationship. Does not want to piss NXT off or WWE off, let's say. But at the same time, they are a show, and I think that a lot of freedom is given in the independent world because they have to sell tickets. Because if they don't have guys like Galloway and EC3 coming in, a lot of the stardom is not there at the time. Like, they're creating stars, but they have to bring in indie guys, ROH guys, TNA guys if they're available for booking. So that's just the nature of indie wrestling, and Evolve's on the higher level of indie wrestling because they are associated with WWE in sort of a way. But I'm not particularly sure that Triple H or anybody in the WWE offices has to give Gabe it Evolve their stamp of approval, but at the same time, he doesn't want to piss them off either. So that leads, that's the long way of explaining what you said.
Right.
I don't think it's obviously 100% not a TNA Invasion on an WWE product.
Correct.
But it's booked to look that way.
It sure is, especially with Johnny Gargano in the ring. And now I think Johnny and Tommaso getting what seems to be an inevitable push with
foreshadowing.
Yeah, with them winning over the now new champs. yeah, it's just it's still just that messed with my mind
Well,
even more after they won. So
Gargano and Galloway have an evolved history as tag team champions.
okay,
So
yeah,
it wasn't those indie TNA guys coming to beat on the NXT guy. There was a story there that Galloway just doesn't like Gargano right now.
sure,
And then, oh, here's his buddy he works with in the other federation coming to help him.
sure,
That just throws it on top of there. And then his shoot is just, the work shoot thing that,
right.
he says what he's really thinking, but it's a part of the show at the same time. It's not 100% unscripted.
Yeah, because if
And it's
if it was a legit shoot, people wouldn't just be trickling in and getting
yeah.
beat down and leaving. There
Now,
the locker room would have emptied and all of
the locker room
security
did
would have
empty,
been
but
there.
not in the context it would have.
Right,
if
right,
it was
exactly.
real. But now the best part about all that is everything we said in the last 5 minutes.
Yeah,
The
all the
fact that
speculation.
Yeah.
What does it mean exactly?
Even that was the best part. That's what got me back into wrestling initially. This last time, this 57th time I've gotten back into wrestling, was just I had Raw on at a random time and I was on the computer and I was just typing away, doing whatever, probably playing a game or something. And CM Punk's on in the background. And he's doing the shoot. He's dropping the pipe bomb. And I'm just like, what the hell did he just say? Did he just reference Colt Cabana? And I turn around, I start watching it and everything he says with the mic turning off and everything. I'm like, holy crap. I'm like, this is the greatest thing they've ever done on TV. And then it's kind of like, well, they turned the mic off. Was that real? Can't be real. They wouldn't even give him the mic in the first place. Well, no, he kind of went after Triple H. And then you kind of had that back and forth. And that's a lot of what's missing in wrestling or because of the internet and the breaking of the kayfabe and fourth wall and all that. A lot of that's missing in wrestling nowadays. You go back to Piper hitting Snook in the head in the coconut. That was a big deal. Now, if somebody was to do something similar, you're like, that's just the stupidest thing I've ever seen. Why is there a piece of fruit in the ring? You know what I mean? It's like
Yeah.
the shock value is missing. And when they can blur that line,
right,
it's part of the best things they can do in wrestling.
Right. And I just, even with their history, with Galloway and Gargano's history, it's still, the dots still connect, it's just and then, like I said, it brought it back to my mind when Gargano and Ciampa won against the Revival, who now have the titles again. And so there's an obvious feud, right? So,
I think that's called foreshadowing.
Yeah, exactly. And the former champs are going to be busy with these monsters that just entered the picture. So they're not going to get back to their rematch anytime soon, right? So that's the obvious thing that's happening there. So it still just is messing with me in the best way possible. Like you said, it's one of the things that wrestling is missing is that, wow, is it real? Is it a work? Is it a work? Is it a shoot? Is it
plus anytime I
a little
hear
bit of both?
an EC
What's
deuce,
going on? Yeah. An EC2, a little EC1 over here, then
drop trow and take an EC2 EC deuce right in the ring.
Yeah.
Anytime you hear that in a promo, it's gold. It really is.
Oh,
it's
he's so messed
greatest.
up.
But it's great. But yeah, I mean that was Takeover, and we, that. Now I'm gonna say this,
Okay.
and I'm never going back on this, and I will never do this ever. NXT is taped TV already for the next few weeks. It's already done. So things are known, but I'm trying not to know any of it. So we're saying that things looking to be Nakamura and Finn, and maybe they address that at the TV tapings. That could be a thing, and that's why people are talking about it. But other things could happen too, like the Revival could not be fighting, Gargano and Ciampa.
There could be something else going on, right? Sure.
So we say this, and at the same time, somebody listening could be like, "Well, what are these guys talking about? Don't they know that last night this happened?" Well, yeah, it happened.
We avoid that stuff like the plague as much as possible.
We want to watch it. We want to just enjoy it. And unless it's something major that's going to get leaked anyway, we just don't want to know. Well, I just don't want to know. I'll talk for myself. I don't care. I'll look stupid saying that all things lead to Bayley versus Nia Jax, and then they could have done 3 weeks of TV tapings where it's Alexa Bliss attacking Asuka every week. And,
which I'd be
I'll
okay
still,
with.
I'm still holding true to the fact that, listen, Bailey and Asuka make sense, and I could be wrong, but I don't have the knowledge of the criticism that I'm getting. So why don't people just get off my back already? You know what I mean, Duke? I can't take it.
And speaking of
Yes, I
getting,
said that Reigns lost the title a couple weeks ago. Someone has to get over it.
you said that?
I was given the review of the Extreme Rules match.
Oh,
And
and you said that.
I think I said, and Reigns loses the match. That's why Reigns lost the match, and I didn't mean to say that at all. I don't know. I have a problem. Like, I type out, like, I'm TV production trained. That's what my degree is and stuff. So I understand, like, script writing and stuff like that. So I take the time to break down my analysis and type it like I would be reading it. And then I start talking and I barely even glance at the notepad. Like, just don't even look at it. And then when I decide to look at it, I have no idea where I am in place. So I'll start reading something again. And I'm just like, all right, well, I guess I'm just going to reiterate this point again and hope that nobody notices. But I'm sold. I'm married to it. I'm going to finish it.
And speaking of reiterating, wow, I had trouble with that word. I'm having trouble with all words. Speaking of reiterating,
redundant booking.
Yes. How about the Money in the Bank ladder match?
Can I give you like a little Johnny Carson?
But I'm okay with it. I'm okay with it. Don't get me wrong. Don't jump off. Don't start the hate train yet. But anyway,
I'm
go
gonna
ahead.
give you a little Johnny Carson Karnak. What's in the envelope kind of thing right now. You ready for this?
Okay.
DDP's benefactor, Vince McMahon's son, the 7th man in the Money in the Bank match. Hold on, let me open it up. What are things that never really happened because we forgot to talk about them?
Yeah. Well,
who's the 7th guy?
I know that was the thing when we were pre-showing. That was
it?
that was the thing. I was just like, they showed 7. They've constantly showed 7. They like doing odd number matches because, or multi-man matches with odd numbers because it kind of makes sense. It leaves one guy to climb the ladder or to do whatever. The odd man out ends up being the big factor at some point. So
yeah, the other 3 take out the other 3, and then one guy's left.
Right, exactly. Especially with the ladder match, right? So
yeah.
It's I mean, it's one big point of speculation from this past week's Raw. So it looked pretty full, right? Yeah, the thing was like half empty because they curtained off the top portion of the building. And people thought, oh, something big is going to happen. And nothing, there were really no shenanigans, really.
Oh, I didn't notice that.
Nothing.
Did they show that on camera? Or is that a...
No, it just
okay.
People who were there were talking about it. So,
okay.
So it was, so that was...
They've stopped talking about the 7th guy for like 2 weeks now.
They have. And I don't know if this is the whole, Reigns and Triple H thing where they stopped talking about it. So maybe they can surprise people a little bit. Or if this is really, they're just not going to do a 7th guy.
I think whoever it was supposed to be is just not ready to get back into action yet, whether it was Orton, whether it was
Bray Wyatt,
whether it was Neville, because Neville was on track to really be ready again. They put Neville on TV on a TakeOver, by the way.
Right, yep.
So now he's in the forefront again. People have seen him.
With his nappy beard.
Yeah, I know. And then yeah, that means he's turning heel. It's obvious.
Obviously.
I don't know if it was maybe a Finn Balor thing, and then they just decided not to put Finn Balor in. And I'm going to put Finn Balor in everything.
Yeah, why wouldn't we?
He's my new Steve Blackman.
Or maybe they were going to put Bailey in the match.
Right. Because Bailey deserves to be on the main roster, and what better to do than put her in the Money in the Bank match? I think that plans were scrapped because whoever it was not ready again.
Yeah.
Or not ready to come back. I don't think it was like it was going to be Zack Ryder, and then they're just like, oh, we're just going to do this without Zack Ryder, or it was going to be, whoever. Like Miz doesn't even have the match in Money in the Bank, right? Because it's he's filming.
Yeah, he's filming, right?
Yeah, so a couple superstars are out filming the Marine 18 or whatever it is.
5,
and then I don't know. I just think that they were going to have somebody, and then they just decided to scrap it and just do something else. And it could, it could have
It's
even
either
been
that.
Sheamus.
It's either that or they're actually trying to surprise us a little bit. I mean, if it's Bray, not going to be a surprise, and if he doesn't win, not going to be what anybody wants to see.
Right.
It's just
Maybe
like,
maybe they maybe they had a second thought of that too. Maybe they said, well, let's make it this person, and then somebody had the thought that, well, can
well, if
we
that
have
guy
this guy
doesn't,
lose again?
yeah, if that guy doesn't win, that does it matter that we held out so long?
I mean,
That's a good point.
yeah. The only thing I could think of is maybe it was going to be Sheamus because they made such a big a deal of him losing that maybe he got like a last chance match or something, and then maybe two of the losers or all the losers got a chance, like a Money in the Bank preview where they put like the seventh spot in the briefcase, and then everyone had a fight to go get the seventh spot, in the
Or
ladder
they
match
even
on Raw.
or they even battle royal for it.
Yeah, or
Yeah.
just whatever. But his tantrum led to him versus Apollo Crews anyway, so maybe that's not really, unless he was just supposed to take out Apollo Crews and then like just have just all this angst and then finally be the seventh man. Probably not him. But the problem with them surprising us with a seventh man at this point is they've done 2 weeks of matches involving all the six guys already. To just have a seventh guy step in and be like, "This guy's in the match, dude." It's like,
Well,
okay,
but I'm gonna play devil's advocate on that. Wouldn't that freshen up the matchup though? Because we
it makes them
have
a wild
seen
card.
them. Yeah, we have seen them.
Yeah,
Once again, we've seen them over and over and over and over.
they're preparing for these five guys now. They have to prepare for a sixth.
Right. So,
But
I mean, story kind of writes itself at that point. But at the same time, if this guy, whoever it is, comes in and doesn't win the whole thing, then yeah, I just don't see the point, especially if it's Bray Wyatt. I just don't see the point of playing it out so long.
it has to be Steve Blackman,
That
Finn
makes
Balor,
okay,
Kenny Omega,
yeah,
Jay Lethal, or
okay,
Dalton Castle for me to care.
fair enough. What if it's all of them?
That I I'd be one of
Did
those
your brain
dudes.
just break?
I would rewind WWE Network and then film a reaction video like I've never seen it before. I'd be one of those guys. Like I would go like to the store. I don't know what store would be open at 9:30, 10 o'clock when this match is on Eastern time. I would go to the store and get peacock feathers, and then have someone film me just randomly watching the WWE Network dressed as Dalton Castle when Dalton Castle comes out and just like overreact. It'll be the greatest thing ever. I would have to go get chips.
He's my favorite wrestler. He's my favorite wrestler.
It's Dalton Castle. It's Dalton. Where are the boys? The boys are gonna be there. And like I'll just kneel in front of the TV and just like have the TV like right like I'm watching Voltron or something like right in front of my face. It'd be great.
Oh, but yeah,
Have some guy randomly in the background be like,
"Where?
"Who's that?"
Yeah, where is the seventh guy? And is the seventh guy even a thing anymore? That's
I mean,
the
it's
big
obvious the
question.
seventh guy is Goldust because he's 7 in WCW.
Oh, fair enough.
And Marine 7 is being filmed, so it could be any of those guys.
It's 5.
Okay, well, I've heard it both ways.
No, you haven't.
Who's going to win the match based on the 6 guys that
Based
they have
on the
right
6
now?
guys that they have right now, it's going to be. I got to be honest, it's going to be Chris Jericho. I really think it's going to be Jericho. Yeah, Ambrose makes the most sense, though.
I kind of thought it
the
was going
Shield
to be Jericho
reunion.
too. I kind of thought it was going to. Well, you know what? We'll know if it's going to be Ambrose or not during Raw when they do the Ambrose Asylum and see if he does anything with Rollins and Roman Reigns. Because if he starts to have tension with Reigns during that interview, then it's probably most likely he's going to win. You know, because the whole foreshadowing thing.
Sure.
I kind of questioned whether it was going to be Jericho myself, but fans know he's not going to be there after SummerSlam. Like that's like a known thing. He probably even said it himself, and I think the WWE's even commented on it as well.
Oh, I didn't realize that actually. So.
Yeah, because he goes back on tour, so he's just
Oh,
there for
right.
that.
Okay,
Yeah.
gotcha.
So whatever he does, so I think he's
So
there.
whatever he's building to now is what he's building to now.
Right, but
Yeah,
The Rock isn't always there.
true enough.
Does Jericho have that much star power where he can win a title, or he can hold a briefcase and be on sabbatical, and like not be in anyone's mind with the briefcase? Like, does that do the fans injustice to do that kind of storyline?
I got to be honest. That I feel like that makes Money in the Bank more important.
Does
Where
it? Because I
it can
wouldn't want the
literally come out
tension.
of nowhere.
He could literally come out of nowhere, but knowing he's not there, like, will kind of be like, I mean, I'll be cross-referencing Fozzie's schedule with like
Yeah,
where WWE tours and be like, okay, well, these possible dates he can show up. And then like I'll be on the edge of my seats on those days. Like I know Fozzy doesn't have a concert today. Raw is 120 minutes from where Fozzy last played. Jericho's coming out and confirmed. And then I'll be on the edge of my seat that day only.
but
Everything else, I'll
but can
just be
you
kicked
imagine
back.
him going on tour with the Money in the Bank briefcase? Going on
That's some
Fozzy
good.
tour with the briefcase.
Listen, that's some good stuff until
That's
it
actually
happens, and then
yeah.
you're kind of like, well, why is our champion not on? Why is our champion not there every week, like with The
Right.
Rock? Why is our Money in the Bank guy not even employed? Like they should have just had another guy. They should have 2 Money in the Bank matches then.
And
If they're
speaking
gonna
of,
put,
oh, sorry, go ahead.
no, I said if they're gonna put one on the back burner until like the tour is over and just make people forget about it, then they should just have 2.
And speaking of, why is our guy not here? We haven't talked about Brock Lesnar yet.
Finn Balor, oh Brock Lesnar, yeah. I listen.
I was kind of over Brock before I ever really had a chance. I've gone
Yeah.
back and watched some of his older stuff and enjoyed it more than the Suplex City garbage.
I mean, he's a monster and he destroys it. He brings a different level of wrestling to the screen.
He does,
Like he's
but
dominant and
it's
they
the
make him look dominant.
same match, and it's not like Flair
Everyone
level
wrestles
of
the
a
same
match.
match.
Yeah, but it's not.
Listen, Brock
Yeah,
Lesnar
you're right. You're not
destroying
wrong.
John Cena at SummerSlam in 2013. I
Sure.
think it was 2000. Yeah, 13.
When he came back.
Right. I think it was 14.
Yeah, I think you're right.
That was
That was crazy.
Cena was manhandled. Cena had no offense.
That was crazy. That was
Then
crazy.
Brock's run every
Yeah.
match since then, except for the Undertaker matches, which I don't care for, was just pure intensity. And it's different than anything else that's around. And he works with sabbatical and then coming back because it's not
it
in
brings
the forefront. It doesn't get old.
it brings a hint of realism to the WWE, and I'm for that. Kind of what you were talking about earlier, but I don't know. Just I don't hate the guy. And I'm not one of those people. I'm not a total purist that says you have to be a guy who's there day in, day out, blah blah blah. Although I respect those guys who are, but at the same time, I don't know. I guess it gets old when you know that he always goes over. Like he never, and I'm not saying he never, but the WWE never puts him in a position to put anyone else over. And I feel like the microcosm of that was the Ambrose match at Mania.
Yeah.
Because
But now let's
which obviously that's, the most recent thing on my mind, which adds to the sour aspect of it.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Let's flash forward 4 years though. And with the thought that in 2017, Finn Balor went over on Brock Lesnar. And all the time that Brock Lesnar was so dominant, Finn Balor was the one to get to one-up him.
No, yeah, I mean,
and years past that, do we reflect and say, okay, well, then that run was good for him being dominant for so long and never putting anyone over? Because when he finally did, it mattered.
Right, and that is the long play of it all. But what if he's done?
Maybe.
Maybe. You know what I'm saying? See, that's the negative side of it is, what if after SummerSlam he's just like, all right, what
if he can't?
I'm back in this UFC thing again or whatever, and he's
because retired from everything.
Yeah, exactly. What if he just goes home to farm?
If he really did nothing but beat people up and sell a few million T-shirts? Well, that's what mattered. So
right, exactly.
we have to get over it.
You're correct.
And when I say we, I mean you, basically.
Yeah,
Because
you're
I'm
talking.
cool.
I
I'm
get it.
chill.
I get
Yeah,
it. Yeah,
I know.
you're
Damn
you're
internet fans, get off
you
Duke's back, man.
are attacking me. No, but
No,
what
the internet. The
what?
internet's
Oh, okay. What I
on the
was gonna
internet.
say.
Yeah.
Stop.
Sorry.
You're killing me. What I was going to say though is the one thing that kind of bugs me with the whole thing is on ESPN, Brock. I'm an entertainer. That's why I'm going back. Now, Brock, literally, what, a year later, I'm a I'm a fighter. I realize I'm a fighter. It's just like, well, pick one, bro. Which one? Like, which one are you? You know, you're. I get that you love both things, and there's plenty of reasons to go back to UFC with, especially with all this new talent and
And
people.
being healthy.
Yeah, exactly. So it's I don't know. I'll get off the topic because I
Well, no,
don't hate
because
I don't hate Brock Lesnar the guy. I don't even hate Brock Lesnar the character. I've just never been a huge fan of while everyone complains about Reigns not doing enough moves. Lesnar, yes, he brings a lot of intensity to a match, but he does 2 to 3 moves, and that's okay. That's fine.
it's not okay for John Cena to have 5 moves,
Right.
but it's okay for the Undertaker to have 1 and Brock Lesnar to have 2. But the way you describe Brock Lesnar is how I described Rob Van Dam, or how anybody living in this house describes Rob Van Dam. We just don't get him. Like,
Yeah.
he's so over, he's so likable to everybody, everyone loves him, huge pops and everything. And we just look at him and we're just like, I just I don't I don't get it. I'm not everything's the same. I'm not entertained. You know, I don't hate the guy. I don't hate him being there. Everyone loves him. But I'm not I'm bored. I'm not a fan. But with Brock Lesnar, it's weird, this UFC thing, because I've read many different things, including TMZ and the dirt sheets of the wrestling world. He was contracted into this match somehow because he never officially retired, and there's a clause in the contract when he left, and WWE was not aware of it, but aware of it, and okay with it. It's just mind-blowingly weird. And just to briefly touch on the surface of this, and I don't even want to go into it, and I'm sure you don't either. He was given special permission not to go through extensive drug testing before the match, like every other UFC superstar is required to do before a fight. And this is not a UFC thing. This is a state and athletic commission thing.
Oh, it is a thing though. It is a thing in UFC where you are as long as you're still considered an eligible active participant, then your
Right.
last drug tests are sufficient. So,
But the fact that
that's a thing with anybody.
but the fact that it's coming up like this
Sure,
is just like,
it is weird.
I don't know if it's just like creating controversy to create publicity at this point.
I think that's what it is. I would suspect it.
I'm finding myself not caring that Brock Lesnar is going to fight in UFC right now. I don't know why. Like, I should, like, I'll probably watch it. I'll probably be
I
interested in it. Somebody I know is probably going to order it based on that fact.
Yeah.
So I'll probably chip in $10 and go over there and, eat all their chips and watch it and complain about everything. But
Sure.
I don't know. It's just
Makes sense to me.
yeah. I don't know. I just
No, but
the way
I mean,
coming
he's
out
still
is just weird.
like it's hilarious to me with all the hate that a UFC fan, the average UFC fan would give the average wrestling fan. It's still amazing to me that the number one draw in all of UFC of all time so far has been Brock Lesnar.
And 2's probably Conor McGregor, and 3's probably CM Punk, and he hasn't even fought yet.
And I suspect Lesnar's next appearance will blow his last one out of the water. And not even like the whole adjusting, like even with adjusting for inflation or whatever, which has only been a few years, but it's
money wise, you mean? I thought you meant performance wise. Money wise, yeah.
I mean,
well, it's UFC 200, right?
Yeah, so it's a big event.
So they've already. I mean, it's already stacked, and I'm not too sure. Well, I can't say that. I was going to say it's probably going to be one of the most viewed UFC pay-per-views in a long time. Even if like the most recent one was like the most viewed. I think it would top anything like that. But yeah, I guess this really pushes that number of people who subscribe to watch it like out of the water of
Yeah,
what it would have been. Yeah, yeah, because now you're reaching the WWE audience
yeah,
that may not necessarily care to watch UFC or pirate it or
yeah.
do
But
whatever these guys
they
do.
want to see what Brock does. So,
Yeah, I mean,
especially
I don't
against an
know
industry veteran too.
who was
So
just complaining and running his mouth about him. So about the drug testing and everything like that. But
yeah,
all right. Just quick back to Money in the Bank, not the Money in the Bank match. I mean, we both
yeah.
see Ambrose or Jericho winning. Um, Curveball because it is the new era and stuff. Kevin Owens,
I
who's
would
that
say that
curve?
I would say the curveball would be Cesaro.
Yeah, I don't know if that's even like to most people probably would be a curveball. I don't even know if that's a curveball to me at this point. But I need somebody in
Like
this
you
match
wouldn't be
to.
surprised by him winning.
I wouldn't because he's kind of a top performer now.
Sure.
It's just the fact that he's just been injured and he like Cena put him like he got himself over in the US Open challenge matches. Like
Yes.
he's been who he is, but that's the match that made him break through. And then he gets injured. So I thought he would win the IC title to kind of like transition between like, okay, he just got back from injury. He could be a main event guy. We'll give him this title. We'll see how the run works, and then we'll evaluate and adjust from there. So Money in the Bank could be that same thing that I was thinking about. He could have the Money in the Bank contract and then still do the transition thing to see like, do we make him lose? Do we put him over? Do we make somebody else take the briefcase from him somehow? Kind of like a Ken Kennedy, not Ken Kennedy. Was it Ken Kennedy? Was it Ken Dykstra? Kenny Dykstra. I don't know. But whoever Edge beat for the contract when Edge didn't win the Money in the Bank match. But yeah, I don't know. The new era really makes me think differently, even if maybe the results don't change. So I think that's the kind of like going back to the shocking thing. It's
That's
kind of like
sort of the point. Yeah.
the good, refreshing nature of it. You don't expect Baron Corbin to win. You don't expect um, Zack Ryder to win. You don't expect Sami Zayn. Well, I guess you do expect Sami Zayn going over on Sheamus because of how all the other matches play out. But to say that wrestling never gives back or puts over younger talent, it's not true. They do. It's just where in the card they do it and for how long is the problem. And I think the Money in the Bank match could kind of like make the case for see, we don't bury these guys, these new fresh guys who fit the indie style. And I think Kevin Owens and Reigns would make a good couple months worth of TV.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Especially because, yeah, yeah. I really feel like you need someone between the episode of Unfiltered, which is getting a lot of good review with Reigns. The Unfiltered just came back this week, and she
No,
had
I
Reigns.
didn't watch it with Reigns.
And it's a new format for the show. It's not just an 8-minute show anymore. It's
good.
a
The
better
Kevin
show.
Owens one was really good. It's one of the few I watched.
And
this
one is actually like the Kevin. They're sitting in the stands like that, like the Kevin Owens one. So
it was Ken Kennedy that won the Mr. Anderson from TNA, formerly TNA, that won the contract but lost it to Edge afterwards. So
yeah,
and Ken Dykstra. Why would you think Ken Dykstra, Duke?
I didn't say it.
Didn't Ken Dykstra date Mickey James and then somehow lost all the push he had in WWE because of it? I think that was a thing. I'm going to research that this week, but
I could see Owens. I could see Owens and Reigns having a good little program.
Stupid bandana too, but
and also it seemed like fans really wanted to see that when there was that big qualifying match or whatever it was a while back before Reigns had the title, and they were staring each other down, and Reigns ended up going over on him. But people, man, the whole place rumbled when those two were the last two guys standing, and it was it definitely there's definitely some good tension there of there's this guy that nobody wants to to be the guy, and then there's the guy who really is the guy, and he's sort of the people's champ. So
I
it
think a
could be
lot
fun.
of the Ambrose Asylum is going to dictate whether or not
Sure.
Gene wins this match or not. I think it's money for them. Um, to have like a Rollins versus Reigns match at SummerSlam that Ambrose interjects himself in on.
Sure.
Now you have, for the first time ever, all three members of the Shield fighting in a triple threat match and for the title.
Yeah. I mean,
Like,
big.
it's one of those full circle story kind of things.
Right. And it can sort of be a bookend too. If well, I don't know. I mean, because one of them still walks out with the title. So what happens with the other two? Do they war or do they team up or what do they do? Which it's compelling. It's interesting.
I think a lot of the story they're telling right now with Reigns and Rollins is like, it's what we've wanted to do all our life, to be the champion. So we put ourselves in the position to be a champion, and we're going to do whatever it takes. We don't hate each other. We just want the same thing. And that could be said with all three of them. They could have this like non-heel, non-face dynamic with each other, a competitive thing where they just want to do harm to the other guy because they got what he wants or because they're coming after what he has.
Yeah, and
Kind of thing.
once again, this is a place where the gray works. Like as much as we hate that in other areas of the company and stuff like that, once again, and as much as everybody's like, Reigns just needs to go full heel or whatever. Well, guess what? Gray works with a Shield triple threat, or just the story being told through that. So just gray continues to work, and it's not just because Roman is this tweener guy. It's because it works. The stories being told work. So
It's a 3
it's
year.
interesting. It's really
It's a
interesting.
it's a 3-year storyline with a lot of things intertwined between it. Now, I'm not saying that every story has to be 3 years or 2 years plus before like a heel or face turn or turn on a partner or whatever can happen. But everything, you look at the timeline, how they debuted, jumping the rail, beating everybody up, Seth, beating up the top guys in the company. A day later, somebody turns and joins the top guys in the company. And through the injuries, the hernia for Reigns and Seth Rollins' knee, and in between Rollins cashing in on Roman's opportunity, it's all leads to this point. That's what makes it work. It's not just two people like one day just turning on each other for the hell of it,
Yeah.
or flip flopping, Bella twins kind of heel face week after week, depending on who the opponent is.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah. Go ahead.
No, I'm just saying
Well,
the gray works
it's
because
classic,
everything's there.
but it's classic wrestling when you think about
Yeah,
it. It's
it is.
classic wrestling. As much as everyone wants to complain about Reigns, quote unquote, being shoved down their throat, it's led to this long play story
It's
where,
my analogy where with Brock Lesnar with you, if you know a couple years ahead
yeah,
of time, he
yeah,
eventually put someone over. Well, if Reigns wasn't shoved down our throat, does anything like this really matter to us?
no,
And does it matter more or less? And I think that because of that, we have a rooting interest against Reigns in particular spots.
sure.
But we're more excited for the possibility of Shield reunion, whether it's all fighting or something happens and two of them team up again.
Yeah, it's compelling and it's very. I mean, that's how wrestling worked back in the day. Back in the day, you had the same match night in, night out. I mean, mainly on house shows and TV, you wouldn't really see it. And then when it finally culminated in TV, there was so much rumble about it that it was this massive event. But it was this constant thread of the same 2, 3, 4 guys always at each other, always interfering with each other, always like it was always that's the classic story of wrestling, is that you have these guys at the top who sort of trade places here and there, and occasionally one will disappear, but there's always that lingering story that connects them, that fans just constantly want to see it serviced, and that's what the Shield is. That
Now, Okay.
you can hate that Reigns is in that position instead of Chris Hero or whatever, or you can be a disciple of Punk and everyone he hates you hate. Fine, but like Larry said, this works because they committed to it and they continue committing to it.
Now, my initial question to you before the show started was, is the prelude to Money in the Bank and everything leading up to it working or not? And I think because of the speculation that we have with who's going to win the Money in the Bank match and what's eventually going to happen with Roman Reigns and Seth Rollins, I don't necessarily think that either of us think that Seth Rollins is going to win this time. We might have, some we haven't seen in a while, a final resolution that's a disqualification or something, some sort of not screw job ending, but some sort of bad ending to a main event. Uh, Double count out, disqualification, something happening. So there's no clear winner, so they can extend the feud a little bit more. But it's all who's going to win Money in the Bank and where do we see them taking it and cashing it in on Reigns is basically how we're booking it. I think everything works.
Well, and it's cool that the namesake of the show is what matters the most in the grand scheme of in the overall story of what's happening. The Money in the Bank match matters pretty much more than anything else.
Well, we had a week of no Roman, no Rollins on TV except for their, pre-taped promo. So I don't necessarily know that. Like, I think that was the week for the Money in the Bank match hype. We might get Roman and Seth on the foreground this week. So it's like, maybe it's not really promoting all about Money in the Bank, but maybe they're just kind of like.
But what I'm saying is all our speculation.
Oh, all our
says,
speculation.
Yeah,
Well,
that's what I'm saying. And
it's
a
kind of
lot
like a
of
match
how
right up
people
our
are
alley, though.
Yeah, it is. But but a lot of people that I see talking about it, they're talking the same way. What if Dean wins? And then there's the other side of, I really think it's time for Kevin Owens to move up, or it would be interesting to see what would happen with Owens and Zayn if Zayn moves up, so on and so forth. Like everyone is constantly speculating, and it's making the
poor Del Rio.
What's that?
I said poor Del Rio. No one's talking about him.
Yeah. I got to be honest. He was the guy the other day when I was thinking about it. I'm like, the guy that really, the guy that's the biggest heel of all of them is Del Rio. And
the guy getting the fans the chant "see" as he's about to hit the guy. That's a heel.
I know. I get it, but he doesn't really understand how to be a heel, so I think they would let him be a hero. But it's
he hit Santa Claus. How many times do we have to go through this?
I know it really messes you up, and that's
you lose every face push you'll ever have in life if you hit Santa Claus with a car.
That's the day you discovered Santa wasn't real too, so that didn't help.
That's the day I discovered Santa was Mick Foley, and I didn't even know that.
Yeah, well, there you go. But anyway, Del Rio is the most heel of all of them, and would be an obvious choice to have the briefcase because it's typically
stupid idiot.
It's typically you're not wrong. You're not wrong.
No, I understand. Well,
you get what I'm saying.
Like
though.
Jericho, if you want to say like heel, like mixing like story heel with people just don't like the guy for whatever reason, then you're right.
Yeah,
Del Rio is,
and typically Del Rio is just like Sheamus was last year. He's the guy that nobody wants to see show up with that briefcase, and that's kind of been who they went with in the past, even though those heels ended up getting just insanely hot and over before they actually cashed in the briefcase.
I thought Sheamus was well done last year. It was the lowest point of ratings though for the thing, and that's why I brought up the topic again. Are they doing a good job with Money in the Bank? Because it wasn't too long ago, December, January, where this product was miserable to watch.
Sure.
And then all of a sudden, like everything since then has just been like, I won't say hot, but so interesting.
Yeah.
Top to bottom from the card. So
yeah. I think we've talked about things enough. There's plenty of other things to talk about, but we can get on that next week in our preview show, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Because I definitely want to spend some time on the Cena Styles match.
That's right. That match is happening too, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, this is a stacked. I mean,
this
is a freaking WrestleMania card, is what it is. This is
and
WrestleMania.
They're really booking it that way.
Yeah, I know, and that's exactly
That's
how
their
they're booking
tagline
it.
for Money in the Bank, just like WrestleMania, but on
Only
the WWE
better.
network.
Oh, with less filler.
They're gonna have signs like Byron Saxon's gonna hold up a sign. This is WrestleMania, and he's gonna flip it over. This is Money in the Bank. It's just like WrestleMania, and you can get it for. And if you want to pay for this on pay-per-view, and then they hold up another sign, but because that's how you talk to fans nowadays to get them to buy stuff.
Yeah, you don't put graphics on the screen.
Yeah.
You hold up physical objects.
Yeah, like, hey, stupid idiot, read this sign. Don't go to the bathroom because it's not a real commercial, but it's a commercial.
They should really have Jericho just do all the promos for pay-per-views from now on, and just call everybody stupid idiot the entire time. That would sell the network right there.
I would watch a WWE Network show that was 15 minutes of Jericho calling people stupid idiots and 15 minutes of Rusev screaming in Bulgarian at people on like a New York City street corner.
Just back and forth.
Back and forth. Just like kind of like how they do Road Trip or whatever it's called, Ride Along.
Ride Along, yeah.
It's just you go back and forth between the two during the course of the day.
All right, so I'm gonna end it. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever it is for you. I'm the Duke, and I'm slurring my words. So, okay, bye.